Welcome to the 5th episode of the Illegal Use of Hands to the Face podcast. How you doing, Jake?
I'm doing fantastic, Hayden. How are you?
I'm wonderful today. We have a great episode lined up, as per usual.
Always, always.
There's never been a bad episode of this podcast, ever, and never will be.
Yeah, exactly. There never will be.
Yep. Would you like to discuss your TikTok fame, now?
Well, I mean, you're making me blush. If you guys want to go over and follow the Illegal Use of Hands TikTok, you can see me just pulling in the views, pulling in the likes. I think it's just my charisma, Hayden.
Oh, yeah. If you actually are watching the YouTube channel before you see the TikTok, that's insane. just in terms of a pure numbers standpoint. So, props to you if you exist. So, we don't really have any news to cover. We have some fun topics to discuss, but you just said to me that you want to talk about the FCF a little bit before we get into our topics for today. So, what do you want to talk about?
The FCF needs to fix its review rules, and they need to do it quick. They need to get the fans vote in. They need to put a poll up or something, because what we witnessed on Saturday was atrocious.
Yeah, I think that you're definitely right. Since it's fan-controlled football, we should make as many aspects of it fan-controlled as possible. So, like, you don't even need a review or replay system in, because you can literally just have live polls of every fan of the FCF, and or, like I said, another option was do it where there's no rooting interest. So just have the fans that are watching that aren't signed up with allegiances to either teams that are playing currently vote on the replay, and then it would still keep them involved in the game too, for even if their team isn't playing. They would be able to help determine the outcome for a review.
Yeah, it's so stupid. Or I shouldn't say stupid, because my team did win because they didn't give the Aces a interception because of it. But I feel good about the win. Do I feel great about how we won? Not really.
No.
I think they're just doing this because they want to keep the game fast-paced, which there's no problem with that, but you shouldn't be sacrificing quality to just make the game fast.
Yeah, I definitely agree. If the quality drops off because of how quickly you're trying to get the game to go, that's bad. And I mean, the other part of it is that it's like the play calling aspect of it doesn't even make it go that quick. So why are there so many other aspects of it that we're trying to get to go so quickly?
Yeah, they need to incorporate some type of play clock or something, because it is ridiculous that two and a half minutes go by to get plays in with running clock.
Yeah,
it is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like, that was an 11-minute drive. It was 4 plays. 4-play, 11-minute drive. Nice job, guys. 50-yard field, dude. Really held the ball there.
That's why I'm a big Beast fan. Most efficient first play of the game offense in the entire FCF.
In professional football history, actually. Can be almost certain that there's no team as efficient on the first play of a game in football history as your team currently is. And
Quentin Flowers and the Beasts.
Meanwhile, my Zappers are 0-2, so I mean, we're really gonna need to have some luck here soon to turn around what's been going on. But yeah, we got that other bad team next week too, right?
The Wild Aces? No, you played the team that we were saying was terrible.
The Wild Aces are the worst team. Now they're the worst team. It's definitely not the Zappers. The Zappers are not the worst team.
The Zappers are the only team that have not won a game yet in the FCF.
Zappers are not the worst team. I'm still all in. If we were at the poker table, all my chips would be in the middle right now.
Well, remember, win or lose, you booze.
Yeah, we're winners no matter what. So I mean, that's why I'm saying that we truly can't lose. All right, you ready? You ready to move on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I am just very excited to see what the FCF has in store this Saturday.
Of course. Of course. So, the reason this idea came to me for this first section of players we are going to talk about that we think could be Pro Bowlers at different positions was because I was just thinking about the long snapper position one day and about how much I love long snappers in the NFL. And then I was like, I think our quarterback could be a Pro Bowl long snapper. So the first guy I'm leading into this with, and we discussed him before, but you don't know anyone else on my list, is Josh Allen being a Pro Bowl long snapper. I think he definitely could be.
Yes, I also have him on my list. I just included him there in case you forgot. He could absolutely kill someone on a kickoff. I am 100% convinced.
Oh, not even kickoff. He's on punt.
Sorry, a punt.
He's on punt team, and then, he's flying down the field. We've seen his speed before, and he's big. Mm-hmm. He's big enough that he's not gonna get knocked over by just anybody. And then, he's gonna snap the ball back really well. It's gonna be a solid spiral right in perfectly into the hands of the punter, and it's gonna be ready to go. It's go time, baby. I mean, he'd be a Pro Bowler, no doubt in my mind.
Especially with that arm strength, you could give your punter so much room. Just back him up even further.
Yeah,
Put him all the way at the 1, even if you're punting from what would be the 50. Back him up.
Yeah.
Make sure that doesn't get blocked.
I mean, yeah, that's a great thing. And I mean, even if he was that far away, I don't know if he'd be used to the velocity on the ball or not.
It might knock him out the back of the end zone.
Possibly. All right. Who's your first guy?
Well, snapper position, I was thinking, well, if Josh Allen could do it, let me just go with the guy that they were comparing Josh Allen to coming out of the draft. That's Cam Newton. Cam Newton is built even more solid than Josh Allen is. So I am convinced that Cam Newton would be taking heads off. Josh Allen would get down there, he'd make the tackle, he wouldn't get, thrown around. Cam Newton would kill guys.
Yes, I mean, maybe. I don't know. I still like Josh Allen. I think you got the same body, you got the same attributes really. But I think Josh's arm is a little better, so I think he shoots the ball back to the punter a little better than Cam would.
Well, I'm talking about prime Cam, but yes, I still think Cam would be those long snappers that could.
You think prime Cam's arm strength even rivals Josh Allen's arm strength?
Prime Cam's speed. Cam Newton's getting down there and he's down on the ball at the 1 every time.
Okay. So you're saying he's got a speed advantage? I guess that's better than what I was thinking. Yeah. All right. Ready for my next one?
Of course.
All right. I'm going to have not only the best pass protecting running back in the league, but I'm also going to have one of my favorite type of running backs, which is a guy who's just going to be willing to run you over at any point in time. Or, I mean, he's still fast enough just to run past you. I'm putting it George Kittle at running back.
Going with the power backs. I like that. Yeah, I could see that.
I mean, it would work perfectly in that 49ers offense. I mean, give him stretch and let him go.
Yeah. Him and Juszczyk in the backfield. That is dangerous.
Yes. People would have to be scared of that. No doubt in my mind. I believe in it. I'd actually love to see it. Just a few times. I think all of these guys we have on the list, if we're talking about moving them out of position on offense, and it's kind of a fun idea, and I was a coach for the team, I may actually consider it. But then I've got other guys that I'm actually moving to the opposite side of the ball, which probably wouldn't be as good. That would probably just be a little ridiculous because it would take up a little too much time.
Yeah, I could see that. But that Kittle move, that's something that would be deadly.
Oh yeah. Next guy for you?
My guy is Jose Joaquin Arcega-Whiteside, or JJ Arcega-Whiteside for those not educated. I am going to move him to strong safety. The man is 6'2", 225, so he's an immediate presence on the field. And also, Hayden, do you know how many fumble recoveries this man has in his career?
Considering he's on offense, I don't know. I hope none of them are like from himself. Well, I guess if he did fumble, I hope he recovered, and so I guess
None of them are from himself.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. Um, I'm. What is this? His third year this year?
This was his second year.
Second? 4?
He's got 2, but he's got 1 fumble recovery touchdown.
Big X factor.
So he has instincts when he's given a play that he has to make, just like on defense. And also, the Eagles, they got absolutely nothing going on in that receiver room. Why not try it? Why not try it? That team's a mess.
Yeah, you got nothing going on in that receiver room. Just take the guys out you have in there now.
Well, they got like 3 college quarterbacks in there playing wide receiver. Why not take the actual guy that actually played receiver in college and move him to safety? Give him a shot. Big body, makes plays, doesn't really have hands because he can't, catch wide receiver. So that's perfect. That's what defense is. Defensive players are offensive players that can't catch. It's perfect. It's a match made in heaven.
All right. I can see it.
And they've already moved him to special teams to be a special teamer. So
so
the
he
guy
can already
hit.
tackle. Oh,
Yeah.
Nice. They already trained him for it.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. My next guy is moving to the wide receiver position. He is the only player on my list that I thought played at a different position that could move to the wide receiver position. It's not very complex, but I really think that he's almost like the only guy that would actually move to the receiver position and really be potentially good at it immediately. And that's Christian McCaffrey to wide receiver. You got
sticking with his father's position.
Yeah, exactly. It just makes sense. And then you see his production out of the backfield where you got other guys like Kamara who do that too. But I think McCaffrey is the best example of something that would actually transition really well, and I think he just knowing having a dad that literally did that for so long would help too. And I think that he would be great, but obviously they have no reason to take him out of the backfield at this point. So even though he could be an all-pro, it would have to, a Pro Bowler. Or he could be an all-pro too, but even though he could be a Pro Bowler at the receiver position, I think he's still at the right spot being a running back.
I agree. He could. Well, he already is a receiving threat. He's. They got DJ Moore. They got a couple of good guys, but he gives those guys a run for the money as the best receiver on that team. So
yeah, it really is. It's kind of sad, but
I could definitely see him get a Pro Bowl nod at the receiver position.
All right.
My next guy. So I just moved offense to defense. Now I'm gonna move defense to offense here. Okay. That's gonna be Jerrell Casey to tight end.
What? No, no, I'm not accepting this.
Yes. Jerrell Casey has a nose for the football.
Really?
In his multi-year NFL career.
Multi-year. Okay, that's specific.
He has 15 pass deflections and led the league in pass deflections in 2016. The dude can get his hands there. You just gotta get him some better gloves, work on the jugs machine a little bit. He'll be a receiving threat, but he's mainly gonna be in there for his blocking. He's a big body.
Yeah, because
he's going to be a Lee Smith. He is going to be a Lee Smith. That's what Jerrell Casey is going to be.
Nothing says Pro Bowl tight end like blocking tight end.
He's not going to be fully blocking. Did you not hear when I said he has hands to catch?
Listen, the problem is that we're talking about if they can make the Pro Bowl at this position.
Definitely can. He is a proven winner, 5-time Pro Bowler already. Why not make it 6 at tight end?
All right, I'm not gonna have my mind changed on that one. Sorry, that one's hard to convince me of.
Oh, whatever you want to say. Moving McCaffrey to wide receiver. Where's the creativity in that? Got Jerrell Casey at tight end.
Oh no, you're right. Here I got a bunch of guys I'm moving to safety, and since my list is a bit longer than yours, I'll package them all together. So I've got DK Metcalf. He could go to safety or linebacker really, because nowadays with his size he's kind of almost like a linebacker build too. Saquon Barkley to free safety, Julio Jones to free safety, and Deion Jones to strong safety. So Deion Jones stays on the same side of the ball, but I think all those guys could actually be Pro Bowlers at those positions on the opposite side of the ball, being Julio and Metcalf for like their size and speed combo. I think Saquon's just an insane athlete, so I think he could be a great free safety. And I think Deion Jones is a plenty good cover linebacker that really transitioning to strong safety wouldn't be that big of a deal for him.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. The chase down speed of Julio and DK would be deadly.
Exactly. And that's what we've seen when their offenses turn the ball over. They're able to find their way back to the play. Even when the play should be over, pick six, fumble return for a touchdown, they go make a tackle 80 yards away.
Yeah, no one would be getting shot plays off and scoring against that team.
Nope. Next guy for you.
So the team that this guy is on would get substantially worse if they move him out of his position.
Oh, Lord.
But the other side of the ball gets bolstered a ton by moving him to it. That'd be moving Derrick Henry to edge rusher.
Okay.
Obviously, he has a nose for the ball. He's getting the ball 25, 30 times a game. He has a nose for it. He finds the ball. So why not just tell him to put his head down and go get the ball?
Well, I mean, that's what Chase Young basically does. He doesn't even know any pass rush moves. He just runs past the guy every play.
I have that written. Chase Young is the perfect example. He doesn't need to learn any moves at all. Just run straight at the quarterback every time.
Well, I mean, you got to get around the tackle first, but just run around him. it's not anymore.
Derrick
Henry
Henry
true.
Could run through the guy.
He could. He may be better than Chase Young. Would Derrick Henry get paid more playing defensive end or running back?
Oh, defensive end.
I don't know.
He's making. Well, he just got tagged.
I think he got a contract extension.
He's making $3 million a year. He's making $3 million a year.
As of now.
Well,
yeah, he's still on the rookie deal, right? Or no, was he not? I don't know. Whatever. I think he just got an extension. I think he just got an extension. Whatever. But I mean, once he gets to 30, I think there's a real argument there to actually move him to defensive end, because nobody wants a 30-year-old running back.
Exactly.
And actually, I have him on my list too, but I was gonna move him to linebacker.
Oh, all right.
It's gonna make him my middle linebacker. So you're kind of getting a bigger middle linebacker nowadays. But I think he's plenty fast to run sideline to sideline. So I figured, why not?
I could see it.
And then so if you do that, I mean, I'll just keep going with my next guy since we talked about Derrick Henry there. My next guy on my list is Aaron Donald. We are not the biggest Aaron Donald fans ever, as we don't think he's bad, but we don't think he's as good as everybody says, right? That's basically our opinion.
Definitely not 8-time in a row defensive player of the year kind of guy.
Yeah, no, it's kind of ridiculous at this point. But anyways, Aaron Donald would be a great fullback if the Rams ever needed a fullback. I don't know. I don't think there's any combination of attributes that could make him any better. I'm pretty sure we've even seen the drills in the offseason with how quick his feet move. I don't know that there would be a better fullback out there than if Aaron Donald was playing fullback in the National Football League.
Yeah, he does those knife drills too, so he's got active hands. He could really pick up a open rusher, unblocked, get a hand on him. A couple years ago, Pat DeMarco had that one play where he just gave the guy on the Bengals like a little shoulder and sent the dude flying. Yeah, Aaron Donald could be that guy every play.
That would be insane. Could you imagine the fullback matchups we would have for the years to come with Aaron Donald and Kyle Juszczyk over there in the NFC West? It would be insane.
The fullback division.
Yeah. All right. You got more guys? I don't even know.
I've got one guy left.
Okay.
One guy left.
Who's your last guy?
Now that he's getting up there in age, don't really know if being physical is what he should be doing anymore. I think he should move to special teams.
Say like Phil Rivers or something.
Say that no, Phil Rivers is retired. He's made his decision. But I don't really see, banging heads every play. That you don't want that. You want a nice, easy job at kicker. That's exactly what Ndamukong Suh could get. He has one career attempt, all right? But he's missed that one. Now, let me share you a list of guys that missed their first field goal attempt last season. Their first extra point attempt. Stephen Gostkowski. I lost the list.
Well, Gostkowski missed, so I mean, yes. He's a kicker.
Yes, Stephen Gostkowski. All right, I have to improvise here because I lost my list. Stephen Gostkowski is more likely than not a Hall of Fame kicker, and he missed his first extra point attempt last season.
Okay, I'm just gonna act like that's an okay comment to say that Stephen Gostkowski is a Hall of Famer, but I keep going.
Why did the Lions give up on Suh after one miss? After one miss, his rookie season, nonetheless. His rookie season. You're gonna ruin the rookie. You're ruining the rookie's confidence by doing that.
They were happy with his efforts at defensive tackle, probably.
Oh,
I see your argument though. He is getting up there in age.
Much power, and he's lost no power in his legs either because he's playing D tackle. So he's not even gonna be like a Vinatieri where we can't be attempting these long ones anymore. He's losing some of it. Suh's not only been, but he's working his whole body out. He's been probably hitting the leg press harder than Vinatieri was at, age 34, 35. Why not give it a shot?
Yeah.
I understand the Buccaneers are happy with Matt Gay's their kicker, right?
Yeah, they're really happy, even though we can't name who their kicker is. They're really happy with him.
Exactly. They need an upgrade. I don't even know who their kicker is. They just won the Super Bowl. I don't know who their kicker is. Bring in Suh. Well, you already got Suh. You don't need to bring him in. Just move him. Move Matt Gay to D tackle.
I want to say that name is the correct name, but at the same time, like, there's also a part of me that says, like, he may have gotten hurt and somebody else may have been kicking for, like, the last, 5 games of the year. I don't know, though.
Matt Gay is the kicker on the Rams.
Yeah, I need to brush up on my kicker stuff. Jeez, that's bad. Okay.
Forgive me, Bucs fans. I don't know who your kicker is.
I'm so sorry. All right, I'll try to run through the rest of my list pretty quick, okay?
All right.
Okay. What position does Jamal Agnew play?
All of them?
Exactly. So move them wherever you want. Like, that was a very simple argument to make. All right, next one. Even though we are absolutely sure that he is a quarterback, we do have to say that if he was ever forced to make the move to running back, I think Lamar Jackson, maybe not in the Ravens offense, maybe a slightly altered version of the Ravens offense where it's not so much power run game, probably be a Pro Bowl running back. I think.
Wouldn't be a bad one either.
No, I don't think so. DeForest Buckner. I think that's solid left tackle material. You just look at the build on the body. I mean, yes. How is that not not going to be a great left tackle?
Little lean to be on the offensive line, but I definitely think he could bulk up even more and then just look that more terrifying.
Okay. Now I'm moving a player that you may not see the logic in moving, especially not the position I chose, because you would probably think that I would go with safety, because like DK Metcalf and Julio, think that those guys should be safeties. But I think AJ Brown could be the best man-to-man press corner in the league.
Hmm. Elaborate.
He's strong. He's fast. He always gets his hands on the football. Do I need to explain more?
I'm just thinking about this because you and I both wanted to move Derrick Henry, and now you want to move AJ Brown. So that Titans offense is going to have
Got
no one
Tannehill.
except
Got Tannehill.
move Tannehill out to wide receiver.
Oh shoot! Yeah. What are we thinking? Jeez. Who's the backup? Whitehurst.
Logan Woodside. Logan Woodside.
What if Clipboard Jesus was still there and they made all these moves and we're like, Charlie, get in there. Charlie, fix the situation. We don't know what went wrong.
We moved too many guys. We need you to get off the bench and start playing.
Okay, and one last guy. I don't even need to explain this. Just hear me say the name and the position, and I promise you will agree. Okay. If you want to talk about it, you can. But if you have no comment, just say no comment, and we'll move along. Okay.
Okay.
We're moving this man to the tight end position. His name is Jason Pierre-Paul.
Yeah, I got no comment on that.
All right. See? I knew it. It's a perfect move. I mean,
Yeah.
no one can even argue with it.
I don't know why you'd want to.
All right. You ready to talk about when we were little kids?
Yes. Before going into this, we should preface we are both 19.
Yes.
So we were little kids in
2009 to 2014. I think that's the range we have.
Is the range of when we solidly remember watching football and could pick favorite players.
Yeah, I cut it. I don't know how you did it, but I cut mine off at 2014 because in 2014, at least for part of 2014, I was still 12. And then I turned 13 at the end of the year, so I figured that was a good time frame.
Yeah. Yes.
So I wasn't a teenager yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I have it as. Yes.
All right. I think you said you have
10.
You have 10. Okay.
Yes.
I have 7 different positions, but like I said, a lot of my positions are kind of like crossover guys in that they do a lot of the same things because I usually, when I was younger, I like to find like a tendency in a guy in how guys played, and then those were the guys that I'd actually end up really enjoying watching.
Yeah. Okay. I understand.
Yeah. So you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
Start us off.
Okay. My love for football began before a time of people like Colin Kaepernick and RG3 taking over the entire world. But I still loved those guys, and Kaepernick was a little after the time period that I was talking about. Not really. He was actually 2013, so I could still throw him on this list. But really, any of the guys that had wheels at the quarterback positions were guys I loved to watch. And even if they weren't that fast, just if they were willing to run, it was great. So, the quarterbacks that came to my mind first, from basically oldest to youngest, kind of. Yeah, I'll go oldest to youngest here. Michael Vick, Tim Tebow, Tarvaris Jackson, Cam Newton, and RG3. Those guys at the quarterback position made watching football, for me as a child, so much better because I thought it was so cool when they ran with the ball, even though the play was designed to be a quarterback, and it was kind of like, oh, you're doing your own thing. That's so awesome. I love it. Yeah, run. It's awesome. And it's like, I know it's different because I know that that's not how it's always happened. So it's really cool to see this happening in real time.
Yeah, it's great because now they're going to be kids now that watch football, and they're gonna love Lamar Jackson. Everyone can run now.
Yeah, no, I
So
mean,
it's gonna be really sad that there's kids that don't have to sit through watching boring pocket passers.
Jeez,
And
what was the
then
what was the Browns Bills game that we watched that was like 6-3 and just two like awful passing days?
Jake Delhomme and Trent Edwards.
That sounds right.
Those
Just like,
those
yeah,
two
like
quarterbacks.
kids won't have to watch their teams go through that because every team basically does have any guy you get out of college now is basically going to have at least some level of athletic ability, and it feels like that's basically been the way it's been since like 2012 cuz like that's the year that like Tannehill got drafted, right? And I mean even Tannehill is like somewhat like not he's fairly mobile though. I mean,
Used to play wide receiver in college.
yeah, there's a few not yeah, I know. That's kind of the weird part because he's not like one of the terribly quick guys you think of, but somehow he was at wide receiver before. And I mean, there's some guys that snuck through the cracks there, like Kirk Cousins and I mean Goff, but even those guys, like I can at least remember them running. We have no statues at all. Like there used to be statues. We have no statues left.
The day Brady retires is the day the pocket passer dies.
Completely. I mean, are any of these you know more about these? I don't know if you know a lot, but you know more than I do about these guys coming out in the draft, at least at this point. Are any of them like exclusively pocket guys?
Well, Mac Jones just looks like a goober. I told you in the national championship game when he slid, he jumped up in the air and then slid. But and they were like, "Oh, he doesn't do it that often." So he might be a pocket passer, but then the thing is, if he is, how long is he going to stay in the league? Because I don't think teams have a lot of patience for quarterbacks in general now, let alone a guy that can't move at all.
Yeah, that is probably a frustration for a lot of teams. All right, give me your first guy.
This is kind of obvious. This is the first guy I thought of. My first player that wasn't a Bills player that I fell in love with, and that's CJ2K. Okay. And my first like time watching Chris Johnson was his 2,000-yard season, because that's really when I first started watching football closely. And every game that he played in was awesome. Every game. And he had the grill and everything. He just looked so cool.
Yes, looking cool does help the argument a lot when you're 9 years old.
Yes. Yes.
If you don't look cool, I mean, like, what are you doing? Like, come on, man. Like, get some swag.
And everyone really liked him too, because I think the Bills played them his 2,000-yard season, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Because I have a memory of like every guy on the Bills going up after the game to dap him up, and it's like, so everyone likes him too, so that's awesome.
That is funny. That's not something that I would think that I probably would ever remember and be like, oh, this is a big deal.
No, that was just a distinct memory of mine because my dad pointed it out to me. He's like, you see, everyone's going to go shake his hand. He must be a nice guy. I'm like, yeah, I guess he is a nice guy. And then he smiled and you could see his grill and everything. I'm like, he's awesome.
Okay. Now, you go from your running back favorite as a child. Okay? Now, are you ready? Are you ready for the polar opposites? Polar opposite.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody knew about Marshawn and the Beastquake. I don't know why. It's probably something to do with the fact that he used to play for the Bills, so when he went to Seattle, I wasn't as happy to see him do well because I mean, obviously looking back on it now, it's like, wow, he was such a good player. It's awesome and stuff. But I think that was probably a reason when I was little I didn't really be like, yay, I'm excited when Marshawn does well. Never rooted against him either, but just that part of it. But, you know, like I said with George Kittle, I want the power running backs. Like, give me all the power running backs you can have. So my favorite running backs to watch when I was little, when Peyton Hillis made the cover of Madden, that was absolutely amazing. Legarrette Blunt, basically just became a fan of him because of that one run he had while he was in Tampa against the Packers, and then I loved watching the Bucks whenever he was getting the football. And Adrian Peterson had his absolutely not his rookie year in those first few years he was with Minnesota, but I think the 2012 season is the year he went over 2,000. That was absolutely insane to me. I absolutely loved watching that. That was amazing to me as a kid. Just because you got to see these guys get the ball, not try to dance around people, just run them freaking over. Just crush their souls. Just take their souls. And by the way, I'm gonna do this like I'm gonna ram into you now. It's the first quarter, first play of the game. I'm gonna ram into you now, and I'm still gonna be doing it in the fourth quarter with 1 minute left. So you better get used to it.
Yeah, the Peyton Hillis and all those power backs when we were younger were great to watch, and you don't really get much of that now. Like, you got Juszczyk when he gets the ball sometimes, and
he's not even a power. He's like the most bare bones. He's like the lowest level of power back you can be, and it's just like the NFL's completely gone away from it. And I kind of get it, because you want guys to be able to catch the ball, and the bigger you are, the harder it is to catch the ball. But it just used to be a really fun aspect to the sport that isn't there anymore. And even then, even at that time, like, it wasn't like there were a lot of guys. Like I said, I mentioned these three, and I mentioned Marshawn, and it's like 4 out of 32 is still not a lot of teams rocking with a power back. So I mean, even then we didn't have many, and they're basically almost all extinct now. And if they come into the game, they're only coming into the game if they want to run a dive on the goal line.
Yes.
That's basically it. Next guy for you?
Well, I talk about this guy a lot, or I used to talk about this guy a lot, and that's Eddie Royal. For some reason, when I was little, I was infatuated with Eddie Royal, and I think I figured out what it was today. When I was making this list, I figured out what it was.
All right, I'm ready.
My dad could not stand watching games broadcast on Fox because, as he said, they always have a bias for the NFC. Not even in the games they would broadcast, but just what they would say about AFC teams. So my dad didn't watch a lot of Fox games unless the Bills were being broadcast on Fox. So he'd watch CBS, and CBS would have AFC teams on it. And the Broncos were one of those AFC teams. Same thing with the Chargers. And those are the two main teams that Eddie Royal played for. And I don't know what it is. I watched some Eddie Royal clips, and I think it's just because he was fast and he made some nice cuts and got wide open. But I looked at his stats. His catch percentages weren't that great. Never really had a lot of touchdowns. But he was just so cool, and I loved him. he was the, I'm gonna say this a lot for a lot of guys, but he was the first Bills wide receiver that I didn't
non-Bills wide receiver.
Yeah, non-Bills wide receiver that I really liked.
Yes.
And it's weird because the Bills wide receivers, like, at the time where I was liking Eddie Royal, were Stevie Johnson, Lee Evans, like Sammy Watkins in there towards the end. Robert Woods.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. Kind of name different guys than I would. I'd basically just go for like all the guys that were on like the oldest team. Well, maybe not the oldest. Maybe like the 2011 team. So yeah. Maybe I'd mention Lee Evans, and then I'd be like Stevie Nelson, Donald Jones, David Nelson. Like
David. Roscoe was there for like a game, and then they cut him.
Yeah, and then it'd be like, okay, how the heck did Naaman Roosevelt get on the field? Like, what are we doing here? Yeah, but my next position is wide receivers. Okay, there's basically, I have a ton of wide receivers. I absolutely loved wide receivers when I was little, but two of them stick out as kind of being different from the other ones. The two that stick out that are kind of different from the other ones is Calvin Johnson, just because what he was doing when we were little kids was absolutely insane. He was jumping over everybody and mossing everybody, and he was basically Randy Moss. Well, he was like 1998 to 2000 Randy Moss in our generation's terms. like just doing what he did way back when, and we didn't get to see that. So Calvin was doing that now, and it was like, oh, this guy's awesome. Like, what am I seeing? It's like, this is absolutely amazing. And I mean, that's just obvious why you like that. I mean, he was just there was not a play he couldn't make, and it's pretty much as simple as that. Then the other guy that's different on my list of wide receivers that I really enjoyed watching as a little kid is Mike Wallace. I really liked Mike Wallace. The reason I really liked Mike Wallace is because when I was a kid and the Bills were bad, right? That's our favorite team. They were bad. I needed like I didn't want to watch. I needed a reason to watch football once the Bills weren't playing. And the reason I'd come up with every year was I'd root for the Steelers in the playoffs because my cousin's favorite team was the Steelers. So I'd root for the Steelers in the playoffs. And I think basically how I went by it is I'm like, who's the fastest guy on the Steelers? Like, there was Willie Parker there for a while, but then it was like, hey, Mike Wallace is the number one receiver, and he's pretty quick. Like, I like watching fast guys run. So Mike Wallace is now like one of my favorite players as a kid. I loved when he'd run a deep play and Roethlisberger would hit him and he'd score a long touchdown. And the funniest part about that is like Mike Wallace was probably like the worst number one receiver Roethlisberger had. Like, just his entire time in Pittsburgh, you can take any year. If Mike Wallace is the number one receiver instead of somebody else, that's probably like the worst number one receiver the Steelers have had while Roethlisberger is the quarterback. And then what's funny about the rest of the guys is the rest of the guys on my list, even though they don't have all the same play styles, I really started to like guys that were running routes out of the slot. And I have Stevie Johnson in here, and check out our TikTok if you want to know why I like Stevie Johnson so much. But he early in his career he worked out of the slot. He eventually got more into running routes from outside. But the rest of the guys I have on here that I really liked watching when I was younger, Percy Harvin, Steve Smith, Wes Welker, and the last guy I'm going to mention, just because it's like a really specific memory, is I remember watching, you know how Thursday night games used to be on NFL Network, and it was like, oh, this is interesting. I'm a little kid. I don't know what's going on here. It's Thursday night football. Oh, I don't know if these teams are good or bad. Well, actually, I knew these teams were bad. It's like 2010, 2011, 2012, somewhere around there. It's like Thursday night football this week. We've got Rams, 49ers, and it's like, well, these teams are bad. It's like, I know these teams are bad. It's like, I just remember, it may have not been the Niners, but it was an NFC West matchup, and the Rams were playing in it. And I was like, I was watching it just because I liked watching football so much, and I was like, I don't really know either of these teams too well because they're not good teams. But and it was like fairly deep into the season, so it was like already showing that neither of these teams were going to have a good record either. But the one guy that caught my attention that kept me watching the game for so long was a player wearing number 16 for the Rams, also a player working out of the slot. I was like, who is this guy? I don't recognize him. Like, what's he about? And I remember him, it seemed like he was all over the field all night. Like, he was catching a ton of passes. And then even when he wasn't catching passes, like, he was getting in people's face and being mouthy, and he was, like, trash talking. I was like, I love this guy. This guy's great. Who is he? His name? Danny Amendola. Absolutely love Danny Amendola, and then he went to the Patriots and ruined everything for me. I was so sad when he went to New England. I was like, no, that was so sad for me. But I loved watching Danny Amendola when he was on the Rams. He gave me a reason to watch the Rams when the Rams were a terrible team. So I really liked Danny Amendola. Then the rest of the guys too, like Wes Welker, I loved him just because I thought it was so crazy how quickly he could get open off the line. Percy Harvin was another speed guy who worked out of the slot. Steve Smith, actually, even though he's tiny, I guess he did do a lot of outside receiver stuff too. But I really liked him for his physicality, just like I mentioned with Danny Amendola kind of getting in people's faces and trash talking too. And yeah, that completes my receiver portion of my list.
I like that you're doing it position by position. I just have 10 guys that are scrambled out, but Uh, my next guy, I got 3 Bills players on my list because I couldn't just leave them out because these guys do have a big impact on me as a young football fan. They were my 3 favorite players on the Bills at the time. That well, except one. The one was my favorite. I can't say he was my favorite player on the Bills, but I loved watching him from what I
Yeah,
can
I
remember
actually
of it.
excluded George Wilson from my list, who is also
Uh,
like one of my favorite Bills players. But
yes.
just because he's a Bills player, and I didn't think that that was as important. But George Wilson, you can throw on my list if you want.
I have Aaron Williams on my list. He I've told you this before. He introduced me to what swag was as a uh young young man. I learned what swag was from Aaron Williams. Being at Bills games, seeing him put the skull mask over his face before he walked out of the tunnel, all the smoke coming up, doing a little dance, and then freaking out when the fire went up, just playing like a madman out there. He was so much fun. He was the part of like the new age secondary after George Wilson and all of them for the Bills. He was part of the new defenses that got really good, and that's what everyone knew the Bills for, just having good D
Yeah,
and losing games.
yeah, we've kind of gotten lucky with safety play over the years. We've really, at least if we've had one position that's kind of been consistent while we've been Bills fans, it's been the safety positions.
Yes.
Kind of had luck with those. Always had and I mean, even if they weren't necessarily the most talented guys, they were fun to watch. Like Aaron Williams may actually be like actually Denor Searcy was probably starting
Mm.
opposite him for some periods of time, right?
Well, he played him and Searcy were in the same draft class, I think.
Yeah.
And he was drafted as a corner, and then they moved him to the opposite safety position of Searcy.
Yeah, yeah.
I
No,
believe.
but all I was gonna say about Searcy is that he's probably like the worst guy we had starting games in that period of time.
Yeah, I still liked him too,
Yeah,
but
of course. I mean, you gotta love our
he
safeties.
out of all the safeties that we've had in probably the past 2 decades, he probably was one of the worser ones.
Worser ones. My next position is pass rusher, and then I have linebackers after that. And honestly, there's only um one line of names for each of these. Okay, and this is
Okay.
the player I have the latest, because this is like when I'm finally old enough to start appreciating a little bit more of players besides just like swagger and awesome playmaking abilities, but also being able to make plays in like different ways. And that was just finally rookie year 2014, final year that I have eligibility as a child, not being a teenager yet. So, um, Khalil Mack just absolutely like changed my whole perspective on pass rushers and how much fun they could be to watch. He absolute menace. Still is today. Doesn't seem like in recent years it's been as much as the first year in Chicago. First year in Chicago was great still too, but I mean he's an absolute treat to watch. And I whenever whenever he's playing, at least when he's on the field, it's gonna be he's a fun player to take a look at and see what's going on, because he's so athletic in so many different ways, and he can do a ton.
Yeah, your close friend Khalil Mack too. You met him in person.
Yeah, I told you that? I didn't know.
Yeah, yeah, Jim Kelly football camp or whatever
Yeah,
it
it
was called.
wasn't that crazy. I think I got like a high five or something, and he may have answered one of my questions or something. But yeah, no, I did. Yeah, it's cool. He's a
That's
he's
just
he's a freak of a human too. I mean, not surprisingly, he looks like a beast in real life too.
dude. I couldn't imagine being a little kid looking at Khalil Mack and just how huge he is.
Oh yeah, it was the year after he came out actually. So it was the summer of 2015, and him and Brandon Oliver both came back and did like a co-interview thing for the kids, and it was awesome. It was awesome to see those guys talk in front of us, little kiddies.
That's so cool.
Oh, it was, yeah. What about you? What's your next guy?
Uh, well, I was looking at his stats today, and I realized that, earlier in his career, didn't really see that and remember it because I was pretty young. But in his later career, had his highest in kick return yards and returns in general, and that's Devin Hester, who we we didn't have the pleasure of seeing him in his first two seasons where he had like 5 and then 6 return
Oh
touchdowns
yeah,
total.
the best years, yeah.
Yes, but
Insane.
it like 20 or 2009 2010, he had 3 punt return touchdowns in 2010, and I remember seeing I think 2 of them live, like on TV,
Yeah.
and it was he just was electric even when he was 28, 29.
Yeah,
It's
that's the
baffling.
truth. I mean, the funny thing is like even if you just like take a look at like the end of his career, even when like nobody wanted him, like there's a season where it's like he doesn't play the whole year, and then the Seahawks are in the playoffs. They're like kicking punt returner gets injured, and then they sign Devin Hester, and he doesn't return any kicks or punts for touchdowns. But he comes in, and I remember watching punts where he makes like 4 guys miss and has like a 25-yard return, and he hasn't played all year, and he's just stepping on the field and be like, "I got this." Like, okay, thanks, Devin. Thanks for coming to join Seattle this at this point in the season. We really appreciate you. Like,
Yeah, he
it's
had
awesome.
a what was it, like a 78-yard or 80-yard kick return, kickoff return that he didn't get for a touchdown in that playoff game for the Seahawks, but it was insane. I remember watching that game like, dude, you are old. You shouldn't move like that. You're too fast.
You're old. He's on my list too, so
Yeah.
that's not surprising. Um, the only even though I ended up playing linebacker, um, the thing is I never really got into like many linebackers, uh, earlier when we were kids because it we didn't really see any of the cool linebackers until we got to almost really recent history with like a lot of these guys developing like Devin White and just other crazy like speed athletic linebackers. We haven't really got those two recently, but the guys I've got listed for when we were younger, and the only reason I put them here is basically because they were a duo because um I didn't really care that much about like these like big name linebackers like Ray Lewis or whatever. But I thought it was crazy that the 49ers had Patrick Willis and Navarro Bowman at the same time. That was insane anytime you watched a Niners game that they were getting to play together on the same team. It was like, how did they get so lucky as to have both these guys play middle linebacker at the same time for them?
Those guys were scary. Uh, I know a lot of my memories for like watching football and all that influenced by my dad, and the way that he would like talk, because my dad played, not that this has an influence on anything because he played high school football, but he just would break down what they were doing and how intimidating they were and how he would not want to be on offense against them because he would be afraid he would die.
Well, can't go left, can't go right. All right, we're screwed.
Yeah, I'm going backwards.
Yeah, exactly. Uh, Next guy for you?
Elodie, nada.
What? Really?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I was a big fan of the big boys on defense. Again, influenced by my father, but growing up, I was on the chubbier side, and the one season where I did play little like pee wee football, they had me play O line and D line. So I got 2 guys on this list that I watched while I like that year that I really liked, and Haloti Nod is one of them. He was really scary. I liked his name. I like that there's a silent G in it. That's one distinct thing that I remember as a kid. It's like, you don't say that letter in his name.
And
Uh,
now I can quiz all my friends and say, how do you read this?
yeah. Ngata? No, no.
You moron.
Yeah, but well, this is when men could be men in football, and you could put your full body weight on the quarterback. And I just remember seeing this huge, massive human just belly flop right on a guy. It's, oh, that's gotta hurt. And then I would try to do that in Pee Wee football games and just fall on air and face plant.
Wonderful. Great image. Great image. Did they ever throw the ball for you to even try that?
Uh, a couple times.
Really? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, a couple times, but it's like, I closed my eyes and did it. Didn't see that he moved.
Ah, man. It's a shame. He moved. Who saw that coming? I didn't. I know that much.
Definitely didn't see that coming.
All right, you ready to hear my next? This is the last little group I have, and then I only have one player left.
Already.
Actually, so how many guys do you have left?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It could probably be 4 because we already touched on the one guy. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Next group of guys for me, cornerbacks that I absolutely loved when I was little because of some swagger. Antonio Cromartie, just awesome guy. He was freaking great. I never even saw him on the Chargers. And then you look at the highlights now, and it's like, geez, he was probably a better player for the Chargers than he was for the Jets. But I only remember him being on the Jets. But I just loved everything they did with him on the Jets, and I thought he was also just a great at the cornerback position, which is awesome. Charles Tillman, that I thought it was insane how often he could get guys to fumble the football. It didn't make any sense. I think it still is pretty crazy. I think it's just because really you see a lot of guys going for the rips on the ball nowadays for fumbles, and in all reality, like Charles Tillman, he would do the rip sometimes, but most of the time he was doing the punch, and he wasn't afraid if he like accidentally like punched you right in the face mask or anything. He was like, I could break my hand now, and I am going to hit my fist where I think that football is going to be as hard as I possibly can while I'm tackling you. And you're probably going to lose it if I make contact with it, or I'm going to have a lot of icing to do after this game. But I'm going to do it one way or the other. And I think a lot of guys, even though you think about these football players as being big or tough, I mean, you just don't see a lot of guys willing to just punch at the football nowadays. They're almost always going for the rip technique if they're trying to strip someone. And I think that was one of the things that made him so crazy with how well he could do that. Also, Brandon Browner, just the fact of having... I love the idea of having like a big presence at the corner position. Just scary and intimidating. Opposite Richard Sherman, too, so it was like both sides. Like neither way you're looking is really going to do well, but I liked Brandon Browner because he was bigger and more menacing. And last guy I have to mention, basically because of the same... Almost like the same thing you said with Haloti Ngata. But I say the G just because, I read it like that. I don't...
I was about to say.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably from when I was little too. I literally read that G out, which is wrong, I think, but I think I can guarantee it's wrong, but I do that for some reason. And then the reason I picked this guy, not only because of his name, is also because he was just a beast of a player. And like I said, most of these guys are physical cornerbacks, so not surprisingly, you have Nnamdi Asomugha as my last guy that I really liked as a kid.
Of course.
So physical corners, a fun name. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense to me.
Loved them all.
I gotta stay with my D tackles here after Nada. That's BJ Raji. He only had two good he had 2 good seasons.
One good play. The only reason I liked him.
But yes. But again, he was a big guy. Love that. And his nickname was the Freezer.
Can I just quickly mention that that's actually like because we said, I don't know if we said it on the podcast before, but we said it before, in that recent years, Joe Buck and Troy Aikman have gotten better at calling games, but like it used to be the most bland thing in the world. But let me say, I do enjoy listening to Joe Buck say, and it's Big BJ Raji.
Yes.
If you remember that call, I remember that call pretty clearly.
Yes, I remember that call, and it is great. One of the few times Joe Buck has made me smile while he's been in the booth. It's great. Nicknamed the Freezer, which is a callback to their rival team's player that was just like him, the Fridge. So you add that, you put a little salt in the wound there with the Bears. Like, yeah, you guys had the Fridge, but we got the Freezer now, and we won the Super Bowl with him. Because they also won the Super Bowl. Granted, BJ Raji didn't have a rushing touchdown in the Super Bowl. But,
yeah, why didn't they do that? Man.
Who was their running back at the time? Maybe they wanted to get their good running back.
Yeah, Ryan Grant or James Starks, one of those two. I actually don't even think Ryan Grant played in it, so it was probably just James Starks. Yeah.
I was just saying that because Walter Payton didn't get a rushing touchdown in the Super Bowl.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, I forgot about that for a minute. Yeah, no, I'm just like James Star. No, you know who I am thinking of though? I don't think he got in the end zone though, but I should have put him on the list now that you're talking about the Packers of this era. John Kuhn, loved me some John Kuhn.
Yeah, the Packers had some good guys, some fun guys to watch.
Oh yeah, I mean Donald Driver, freaking old man running around on the field.
Yeah,
Jordy Nelson. Yeah, I like Jordy. I don't know why. Everybody remembers the Greg Jennings video, but I liked most of their receivers. Greg Jennings never really caught my attention as much though.
Well, that video is the reason he's iconic, and I think a reason that the Packers appeal to like a lot of people that are our age is because they were the bandwagon team when we were little. That's what everyone hopped on. It was that or the Patriots. And around here, you probably didn't want to become a Patriots bandwagon because you'd be ridiculed and your parents would disown you.
Yeah. No, and yeah, that I remember that because you're right, there were a lot of people that were like hopping on that Packers bandwagon. And like I told you, I was rooting for the Steelers in the playoffs whenever the Bills weren't in it. So that was a pretty tough Super Bowl for me because I had a lot of people that I was like, I want the Steelers to win. They were like, I want the Packers to win. And then when the Steelers lose, it's like, no. Because it's different if it's like everybody who's around is rooting for the Bills. All right, if we lose, like no one's going to be talking to each other. But it was like then when you were in elementary school, it was like, okay, it's the Super Bowl now. Now you have to pick a different team because your team isn't in it. You have to pick one of the two. And it was like, if you pick the wrong one, this is not going to be good. I remember that clearly. You got your next guy ready?
Yeah. So, like I said, watched a lot of AFC games, talked about Eddie Royal. Now the better receiver that was on those Broncos teams, Demaryius Thomas. He was the supplement that I think, because when I put Eddie Royal on there, went and watched some Eddie Royal clips, I was like, did I actually like Eddie Royal? or was it Demaryius Thomas? I know that I like Eddie Royal now. I have fond memories now, looking back. I think that's rose-tinted glasses, thinking that he was Demaryius Thomas. So I put Demaryius Thomas on this list because I actually did like him. Because when Eddie Royal left the Broncos to go to the Chargers, Demaryius Thomas stayed on the Broncos, and he also caught Tebow's overtime touchdown pass against the Steelers in the wild card. So those are two of my favorite players hooking up to make one of the best moments in NFL history.
Yes, I agree with you. You know what's funny about Tebow in that time and all those receivers on those teams? This is actually very stupid. My favorite receiver on those teams was actually Eric Decker. And you know the only reason why I liked Eric Decker probably more than the other guys?
Why?
Because there's one play where like they're playing the Chiefs, and you know how good the Broncos defense was at that time to like keep them in these games where Tebow wouldn't do anything until the fourth quarter, like anything at all until the
Yes.
fourth quarter.
Yes.
And it was like, okay, they're playing the Chiefs this one week, and it's like the Broncos defense has kept them in it the whole game, and it's like, okay, and now let's look at the passing chart for Tebow, 2 for 12 for 10 yards, and it's like they're down 6-3, and it's like, what? How is this game happening? It's 2011. It's way too like modern for this to be happening like on a week to week basis. You just look at it and you see the bottom ticker as you're watching whatever game you're actually watching, probably a Bills game like we were, and it's just like the Broncos are hanging in there, and it's like as long as the Broncos keep things close, we're always expecting them to pull it out in those Tebow days. And I remember it just being like, okay, and now let's see what just happened in Denver. Tebow's 2 for 12 for 6 yards, hasn't been able to like complete a pass for anything all day. And then somehow Eric Decker runs a post route, gets past the defense. Okay, first off, as a child, even then, like I had an idea. I'm like, okay, black guys usually faster than white guys. Sorry, it's not trying to be mean or anything. It's just basically the truth. Like Tyreek Hill is the fastest guy in the league now, and it's not who's the guy for the Bucks?
Scotty Miller.
Yeah, it's not Scotty Miller. It's Tyreek Hill by a mile.
Hey, Scotty Miller said he's the fastest guy in the league.
It's not Scotty Miller, and it's not even close. So I'm like, wait a minute. They just let Eric Decker get past him. And not only did Eric Decker get past him, but Tim Tebow threw a ball that was actually catchable, and he ran in and scored a touchdown when he's 2 for 12 for the whole game. I'm like, how do those two things happen? Like, neither of those things make sense to me. And I guess that's why, like, Eric Decker was, like, they had so many, but you're right, though, too. I liked Eddie Royal and Demaryius Thomas, too. But I just remember seeing that one play specifically and being like, I don't know how that happens. Like, it's just, it doesn't make any sense at all. And yeah, no, I was just like, yeah, that was my reasoning for like being like, Eric Decker's kind of cool.
Can't hit the broadside of a barn, but he throws his most catchable pass of the day.
Oh yeah, and by the way, it's like the end of the third quarter or the fourth quarter. Like it's going into that clutch point in time where it's like, okay, Tebow, we actually need to start playing now. It's like, all right, fine, coach. Your next guy. Sorry.
I got two guys left. So, you done with?
I got one guy left. So
all
you
right.
can still go again.
So, I got two Bills guys left. One of them, this is gonna be quick, because I don't remember much. I have memories of him. Don't remember him much, but he was the first jersey that I owned. That's J.P. Lostman. The original Josh Allen, except J.P. Lostman's bad and not good. But yeah, I don't really got much else to say. I liked him because he was the Bills quarterback. That's my whole thing.
Okay, guys, hear me out. There's nothing about him that I should have liked. I just did.
He had a big arm and he threw touchdowns to Lee Evans.
That was cool. Yeah. Did I ever tell you Lee Evans was the first jersey that my dad let me get in the store because it was on sale, and it wasn't on sale because he had gotten traded yet. But then 2 days after I got the jersey, because it was on sale, he got traded.
They knew.
Then my dad was like, see, this is why I'm not going to buy you any jerseys. And I was like, oh, all right. So, that kind of is, I've kind of kept that. Not too many Bills jerseys in my life, unless we get like retro player jerseys stuff.
Yes.
All right. Would you like me to go to my last one?
Yeah, because I think my last guy, you and I can both have some heartfelt memories about him.
Okay. So, my last guy was my favorite player that was not a Bills player, and I've got to be honest, it was probably by a mile. It wasn't even close. Like, there was nobody even close to this guy and what he could do, and it was just like, anytime he was in the game, it was absolutely insane what he could do. Because when you're little, you're so amazed by all the plays that people can make on offense, and it's like, okay, but they're purposely getting them the ball all the time so that they can show off. So being able to have a guy on defense that was just absolutely insane to watch and be like, how in the world did he do that? And when we watched Troy Polamalu, he was doing things on a week to week basis. If you watch Steelers games, that are absolutely insane. I mean, even if you watch like the 2010 Bills game, uh, where Stevie Johnson drops the game-winning touchdown pass, like he has nothing that anybody's gonna remember from that game without watching it. But it's just a random game that he played in, and he had a huge impact on the game, absolutely massive. And every week he was making an absolutely huge impact on the game he was playing in. And not only that, but the plays he would make are absolutely ridiculous. And because the Steelers weren't always on TV here, it was sometimes just seeing them in highlights. But once you get to the playoffs and stuff, then you actually see him. And some of the plays that I just remember on highlights are like the game against the Tennessee Titans. He gets a one-handed interception on like a deep post route. It's absolutely insane if you haven't seen it. Then the diving interception against the Chargers in the snow, absolutely ridiculous. And then the game I actually like remember watching for the first time and actually seeing him play in live, just on TV at least, was the AFC Championship game before the Super Bowl 43. And that's like as young as we get. And just remember it's late in the game. The Ravens are trying to come back. I don't really know about how big this Baltimore-Pittsburgh rivalry is yet. I just know that the commentators have talked about it being like really, really a huge rivalry game, the whole game and whatever. And then you get to the end of the game and he picks off Flacco, and he does this little thing where he's cutting all around the field and he's running back and forth. He's just like, it's insane watching him because he made the play to get the pick in the clutch moment, and then he's really not that good at returning the ball once he gets the ball in his hands, but he ends up finding his way to the end zone. And I just remember Jim Nantz saying, the Steelers might be bound for Super Bowl 43 thanks to number 43, and I don't think that's anything that I'll ever have leave my memory. And that was crazy, especially when it was like right at that point in time where I was finally really getting into football. And then the next week, obviously, we had my favorite game that I've ever watched 2 weeks later, being the Cardinals and the Steelers playing. So that was also a very insane game. And like I said, the Steelers were the team I was rooting for in the playoffs once the Bills were out. So that really helped it out. Helped solidify Polamalu as like basically my favorite player of my childhood, if not Stevie Johnson. I don't know. They're both basically right there. But I mean, they're still far above anyone else.
I'm going to end it now with the favorite player of my childhood. And he's on the Bills. And that's Fred Jackson. And it's really weird because I'm looking at Fred Jackson's career with the Bills and the years. He played with the Bills like the whole time that we're considering our childhood.
Yes, he did.
That's just so weird. Because the day that he got cut, I think I like actually shed tears because he was so great and was an actual like he was the first not the first but helped move the NFL more towards like receiving backs because he had 1, 2, 3, 4, he had 5 seasons with over 1,000 scrimmage yards. And reminder, he started his NFL career when he was 26.
Yeah.
So that's even more insane. and he had to play with Marshawn Lynch and CJ Spiller.
Yeah.
So he was
While other running backs are walking in and out the door, he's sticking around.
yes, the whole time. It's just weird. And he was so great. He was great to the whole city. He still lives in Buffalo for some reason. Uh the Seahawks, because he played one season with the Seahawks after the Bills cut him, and he finally got to play in the playoffs. And when my dad and I watched that game together, my dad was like actually like emotional watching that because he got to finally see Freddie in the playoffs, and that got me emotional too. Like I was 13 at the time, but I still was like, man,
Just happy for him.
yeah, this guy played his whole career in Buffalo, and he finally gets to go there and taste some playoff football. And then I think he got the first carry of the game for the Seahawks. They handed the ball off to him first, and that just it gave me chills, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, it sucks being a Bills fan because I'm getting emotional because he's doing that for another team and not because he's with us.
Oh yeah. No, I
But
mean, I don't. I mean, how many people are there out there that are gonna be able to relate with us, at least in terms of football fans? Like Cleveland,
yeah,
maybe sort of Jacksonville. Um, I mean, it's a tough situation that we were in for a long time. I mean,
he made
luckily,
football.
yeah, luckily we're looking up now, though. I mean,
Yeah, he just as a kid, being a fan of those crappy teams, he just made it. He made the game so much more watchable because you always knew like Freddie's gonna get in the end zone. Freddie's gonna get in the end zone here. He's gonna find a way.
well, yeah. I mean, you talk about turning. At the turning point in that Steelers game I was talking about. That we're just gonna keep talking about it. Sorry, but you know that what turned that game around? It was like 16-3. The Steelers were handling us, and the Steelers were a lot better of a team at the time.
Yeah,
Something, or maybe it was 13-3 or something. And,
something like that.
and
Yeah,
and it's like the Bills didn't move the ball like the entire game, and then it's like, all right, let's go empty here and put Freddie out wide, and we run a rocket screen to him, and he catches the ball and goes like 80 yards for a touchdown, and it's like, hey, we're in it. It's like nice. Yeah, I mean, there's so many plays you can call back on that he made for the Bills that nobody else will know about that were probably huge to us as kids.
the season, the 2015 season when he got
Stiff.
cut, is every single guy that scored a touchdown did his celebration. It seems like every guy that scored a touchdown did his celebration when they scored. Spun the ball and then the Incredible Hulk bend back, rip your chest open.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another reason why I like Aaron Williams too, because he did that. Aaron Williams loved Freddie.
A lot of guys did
Ah.
in that locker room for sure.
Oh yeah, the whole city did. Now I'm emotional. Ugh.
Jeez. Well, I mean, they don't need to listen to you cry. We good?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we can cut it here.